Hey, I'm Bear Dellinger with Headlight Revolution. If you have a 2014 or 15 Silverado, then you've got to check this out. In just a few minutes, I'm going to be going over the installation over our Morimoto XB LED headlights. But first, we're going to head over to Chris so he can give you a little bit more details on the product and why you need these for your next project.
The 14 to 15 Silverado 1500 came with two different headlight styles. You've got the more common style like this, where it's a reflector low beam and a reflector high beam, but they also came with a projector low beam version. The new Morimoto XB LED projector headlights fit both. So it doesn't matter which version of the Silverado 1500 you have, from 14 to 15, this is going to be a great upgrade for everybody. These trucks are still super popular because they're a great deal, they're super reliable, and when they came out, they signaled the new stage of trucks from Chevrolet. The problem is they only made them for 2 years, so when the 2016 model came out, they did a facelift. That's where this comes in. The Morimoto XB LED headlight for the 14 to 15 Silverado 1500 is designed to give your truck this 2016 and up style. So not only do you get the better style, you also get way better lighting performance and some new features that you didn't know you were missing in the first place. The way these work is they're fully LED. There is no incandescent or halogen. They're maintenance free, which means there's no replaceable parts. You install it, plug and play, and your nighttime driving experience has never been better. The low beam projector is a fully integrated LED, and the high beam projector down here is a fully integrated LED. The other thing that these bring to the table that your truck didn't already have are a DRL and sequential LED turn signals. So if you look at the line above the center of the chrome bezel, that lights up white for your daytime running light. And these have a true OEM style daytime running light. It's not just an LED accent. It goes full brightness during the day when your headlights are off. When you turn your headlights on, it dims to 50%. But that's not all it does. That strip also does your turn signal. Now, in just a second, we're going to show you the difference between sequential and standard and show you how to install it, so you'll be able to figure that out yourself. But that's not all. There's also a second strip below that does the same thing. So it gives you a very modern, stylish look for your daytime running light and turn signal. Not only do these have an OEM grade and style daytime running light, but everything about the headlight is designed to meet or exceed your OEM specs. These are DOT approved. They have a hardened UV resistant polycarbonate lens. They have a shatterproof plastic composite housing. They have Osram Oslon chips for the DRLs. They have Osram LEDs for the projectors. Everything about these headlights are the best of the best. If you want the best quality headlights that not only look good but also perform good, the Morimoto XB LED headlights are it. There's really no other options that can compete with this. Everything else that's out there is going to be cutting corners, either halogen projectors or low quality projectors, or missing the daytime running light or lower quality components. This is the gold standard for Chevy Silverado trucks. Now, depending on which trim level your truck has, which package it came with from the dealer, you're either going to have a chrome grille and bezels on your headlight, or you're going to have body color paint matched grille and bezels. So if you have the chrome set up already on your truck, when you buy it on the website, you're going to want the chrome bezel option. But there's another option for those of you that have the painted grille and bezel. Normally they come in black, but this one's already been painted. So this is what it looks like. If you've got white or silver or red or even a custom color on your Silverado, you're going to want to pick the black plastic bezel for your headlights and then take it to your body shop and have them paint it like we did with this one. So before we send it back over to Bear to show you how to do the install, let's talk about beam pattern. When we turn the reflector halogen low beam on, this is what you get. This should be what your headlights look like now. It's pretty typical for what you'd expect with this type of headlight, and honestly, it's pretty disappointing. This thing only comes in at 290 maximum lux at 25 feet. That is not very bright. Nowadays, some fog lights are brighter than this headlight is. The reason we measure lux is it's a better comparative measurement than lumens in this type of an example. The difference is lux measures actual real-world brightness at a certain point in space. If we move the truck forward or backwards, it's going to change that lux meter. So we keep the truck in the same spot, we shine them at the exact same spot, and we measure it the exact same way. Now check out what happens when we turn on the Morimoto XB LED projector headlights. Not only does this give you that modern style of a beam pattern that you want, the color is also better, and it's way brighter than stock. The original was 290 lux. These are 1,430 maximum lux. That is an incredible increase in brightness. That's why I'm saying your driving experience will never be the same. These aren't just a good looking headlight that's going to change the way your headlight looks. It's going to make your life better, safer, and easier. Now let's go back to the original halogen headlight and flip on high beam. Here we got 1,020 maximum lux. That's actually a pretty impressive increase over the low beam, going from 290 up to 1,000. But watch what happens when the Morimoto LED high beam kicks on. 1,660 maximum lux. Again, another huge improvement. I don't care how good the original high beam was, this one is way better. Let me show you one more thing before we jump into the actual install, and that's what you got on the back side. Two things I want to point out. The first one are the aiming adjustments, and then we're going to look at the wiring. On the original headlight, you have this Phillips screw style gear, and you put a screwdriver into the top and you turn it, and that's what gives you your vertical adjustment. You've got the exact same type of adjustment on the Morimoto XB headlight. Take a look. It's right here. Screwdriver comes down from the top, it engages that gear, and if you turn it left and right, that does your vertical up and down adjustment. Now the Morimoto XB LED headlight also has one more adjuster over here. As you can see, that secondary one does your horizontal adjustment. So not only can these be adjusted up and down, they can also be adjusted left and right. Normally, you don't touch the horizontal adjustment. They're already pre-aligned from the factory. So don't concern yourself with that. It's the vertical adjustment that you want to pay the most attention to. If you want to see where your headlight should be aimed and how to do it on the road, go check out our other video on how to properly aim and align LED headlights. Now, the last piece of the puzzle is the wiring. Cool thing is, it's the exact same wiring configuration as your original headlight with two little details that are different. Don't pay too much attention to everything that's going on here because they're just the components that make all the LEDs work. What you should be really focusing on is this connector right here. This connector is the exact same connector as your original headlights, and this does everything. It does your low beam, it does your high beam, your parking light, your turn signal. The only thing this doesn't control is the daytime running light. Well, that's because your original headlight never had one to begin with. Now, installing the daytime running light is simple. It takes this harness that plugs into your fuse box. There's no cutting, no splicing, no soldering. It's all plug and play. One side connects here, and the other side plugs into your fuse box. In just a minute, Bear's going to show you exactly how to do that. This harness allows us to pull power directly from your ignition circuit and your headlight circuit to power the daytime running light. The last connector we want to pay attention to is this one right here. You see it's a male and female connector plugged into each other with one wire on each side. Now, this dictates if you have the animated sequential turn signal or the standard blinking turn signal. Plugged in like this, leave it alone, don't touch it, you're going to get your standard on, off, standard turn signal. Now, if you unplug it, that's when you get the sequential effect. Now, we're just going to leave that hanging back there, unplugged. It doesn't need to do anything. Don't got to plug it into anything. If you want the scrolling sequential turn signal, do that and leave it alone.
Alrighty, thanks Chris for that. Now let's head on to the install. All you have to do first, of course, pop the hood and let's get started. Alrighty, well now that we get the hood popped, there's going to be 12 pins that you have to take out for the first process. Alrighty, well now all about 12 of those are removed. All you have to remove is this casing right above the grill, and then we can get started. All right, your next step, you're gonna be removing these 4 10mm bolts right above the grill. Alrighty guys, so next step, you're gonna come down to the inner fender right here, and there's a 7mm, and there's also one just tucked up right underneath here that you'll be taking out. So once you're finished with that, do the same exact thing on the opposite side. All right, now that we got both of those 7mm out on the passenger and driver side, we're gonna be taking off the plastic trim that is on top of the bumper now. All right, when you're doing this process, I don't recommend you having nails while doing this, but with me, I like to adapt, and we're gonna get it done. Why is this one so tricky? There she goes. Alrighty, well this part is a tad bit of a doozy. There's 6 clips underneath this area. Go ahead and grab you a 6-pack of beer because you'll see what I'm talking about once you get this out. All you have to do is go up underneath the truck and you're gonna have to pry these different areas out. I'll take it out for you real fast. So these are the clips that we're gonna be trying to pry out and get this daggone plastic piece out. But once that's out, then you're good to go. Well, with that set aside, before we take the grill out, we have 4 10mm bolts that's gonna be right underneath the grill area. We gotta take those out. So I'm gonna work from the left side all the way to the right. Oh, that one almost worked. It's okay, you'll find out they like to fall on their own. Alrighty, now that we got those bolts out, it's time to take the grill off. I would recommend for you to use a wedge to at least help, a pry bar or some sort, to help get the clips up off of this so you're not breaking into the clips on the grill because that would be no bueno. With those pried off, you're able to yeet it off, and we're gonna set it aside and then get to the headlights. Alrighty, now we can get to the headlights. There's 4 different bolts that are going to be set up. We're going to be using the 10mm and then also a 10mm ratchet down at the very base because you can't get this bad boy in it. Alright, I'm going to start with the outer corner one first. If I was you, I would start from the bottom and work my way up during this process. Alright, so you're going to keep on moving on. There's another 10 right here at the base. And then we're going to head up to the very top. And there are 2 more up there as well. So there's one on the inner side and the one up at the very top fender. All right, with those removed, you now can just pull the headlight away. Alrighty, all you have to do is remove this harness from the back side of it. We have a couple more steps before we put the aftermarket in, but let's get it started. All right, now that we got the OEM headlight out, we're gonna put the Morimoto headlight in. But first we got to put the new bezel on. So you can either have the chrome or also the black edition, but because this package is the chrome edition, we're gonna match to it. So your first step to the process, you're gonna be removing the backing off of the 3M. There's a bunch going on, but I got faith in you. And then once you're done with that, you're going to overlay, and there's these clips on the inner side of this bezel. It's right here. And you're gonna make sure you wanna line those up and then press down nice and firm. And like I said earlier about them nails, this is where they come in handy. If not, you can use a razor blade and whatnot to help get these off. All right, and well now after that tricky part is done, you're gonna make sure you wanna line up those tabs that I told you earlier, and then make sure it's lined up on the other side too as well before you press firmly, because 3M does not want to give. All right, but before you fully press down on this, there's 3 screws around the housing of the headlight. Yeah. So there's gonna be a top one, a side one, and then also a base one. So we're gonna shoot those in real fast. Make sure not to over tighten these or thread them out. So if I was you, I would do it by hand, but we're good. Alrighty, now that you know these are new headlights, make sure you have a nice soft surface when putting them on their faces. And we're gonna continue on with putting the rest of these in. And now that those are done, we're gonna give it a nice good push to make sure that 3M is nice and seated onto the front facing of the headlight. All right, now that we got the bezel on and whatnot, we're gonna go get the OEM headlight and take off the bottom bracket off of that and install it onto the aftermarket one. All right, now we got the OEM one. To take the bottom bracket off, there is 2 T20 bolts at the very bottom. We're gonna take those off and put this on the aftermarket one, and it should be goods to go. There it goes. Just gotta finagle a little bit, but we got it. All right, now that we got that out, we can get this one up out of the way and then put the OEM bracket on the aftermarket one. Alrighty, while we have our headlight back, we're gonna put this bracket on. So with this, it's a tad bit tricky. Make sure that you get those 3 grooves on the very base. And then once those are lined up properly, you'll hear that little click. And then you take those 2 T20 bolts and you're gonna put them right back where the OEM's ones as well. And just like the bezel as well, make sure not to over tight this because you know you are working with plastic. You don't wanna break anything. Alrighty, we are just about done with the install. We got this finished up right here. Now we're gonna head on over to the harness and install the DRL harness, and then we'll be able to put this bad boy in. All right, y'all, the next step you're gonna be doing with these trucks, there's 2 lock tabs right here. You're gonna push those forward, and then you're just gonna remove the very top lid of your fuse box. I will be showing you the fuse that we're gonna be removing is number 39, which is the miscellaneous ignition. It's a 10 amp. All right, now that we got that out, this is gonna be the end that we're gonna be using on the DRL harness. And you're gonna put it in the place of that 10 amp that we took out earlier. Now be careful when you're putting this in to not mess up any of the other relays in there and or bending or binding that fuse. And it should look something like that once you get everything good and installed. All right, well, now that we have the wires run and everything, we're going to put the fuse box back on. With this process, it's gonna be a little tight. I would recommend notching the plastic of your fuse box, but this one's not too shabby, so we're just going to send it, and she's nice and locked, and it's good to go. Now that we got that in, we're gonna run the DRL harness. There's gonna be 2 different areas. One side is for the driver's side and the longer side is going to be for the passenger side. So what we're going to do, we're going to run the longer side up through one of these holes and run it onto the very top of the radiator and make sure it's nice and tucked so there's no snagging and whatnot too. Now that we're going to get this all ran up underneath here, we're going to zip tie it towards the end of the process once the headlights are in and placed in, just in case if we needed a little bit more adjustment with the wire. You don't have to undo the zip ties once more again. All right, now that we have everything ran over to the passenger side, we're gonna head back over to the driver's side and get that installed and everything plugged in. And you're gonna be doing the same exact thing to the passenger side as well. Now, like I said earlier, with the DRL harness, there's a shorter side. So this is what you're gonna be plugging into the back side of the driver headlight. All right, you're gonna be connecting it to the blue wire harness on the very back side of the headlight. And it goes in just like that, easy breezy. And the next connection, you're just gonna be doing the OEM one to the aftermarket one, and it pops right in just like so. And make sure whenever you're doing this to tug as well to make sure that they're on and they're not gonna come off after the process of installing it. A good feature about the Morimoto headlights too as well, you have the option of having a sequential or a solid turn signal setup. Everyone likes sequential, so we're gonna keep it sequential. So we're gonna keep them unplugged and then we're gonna install them. But a good key factor to have too when installing this, make sure the harness is easily accessible also behind. So if you do want to change your mind and go back to a solid system or a sequential system, depending on how you want it, you can do it with ease. I'm gonna go ahead and install the very top bolt so it holds everything in place, and also the very base one. But before installing all of them, I'm gonna go ahead and test the product 2 out first before we get it all nice and tight to make sure the bad boy runs like we want it to. Now that we got everything installed and tested properly, you're able to put your trim, your grill back on and shut the hood, and you're ready to rock and roll with your new Morimoto headlights. So if you love your Silverado, you're going to love these headlights. They're an easy install and a super easy way to upgrade your light system in your Silverado. So guys, if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And also, if you want more Silverado videos, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one.